Welcome to the deep dive. Get ready, because today we're digging into something really exciting from the ancient past. A brand new dinosaur discovery, Baiyinosaurus.
That's right. We've been looking through the scientific papers that first introduced this creature. The main one is by Ning and colleagues, published just this year, 2024.
Right, fresh off the press, basically.
Pretty much. And these papers, they're like our guide, showing us where it was found, what its bones are telling us, and, how it fits into the bigger dinosaur family tree.
And this isn't like elite Cretaceous giant, is it? We're talking earlier.
Much earlier, yeah, way back in the Middle Jurassic period.
Okay, Middle Jurassic.
Specifically the late Bathonian age. It's a really interesting time for dinosaur evolution, and, well, Baiyinosaurus seems to be right in the thing of it.
And the location. China, I believe.
Exactly, Gansu province. And the name Baiyinosaurus actually points right to the city of Baiyun near where they found it. It literally means Baiyun reptile.
Huh, okay, makes sense. And there's a species name, too.
Yep, B. baojiensis.
Yeah.
That refers to the Baojishan Basin, which is in the Kalian Mountains nearby. So yeah, its name is really tied to that specific spot on the map.
Got it. So what's our mission for this deep dive then? Why focus on this particular dinosaur?
Well, the goal is really to unpack why Baiyinosaurus is potentially so important. It's not just another stegosaur. It seems to be showing us some really critical transitional steps in how these armored dinosaurs evolved. Some fascinating features we need to talk about.
Transitional features, okay. I'm intrigued. So let's start at the beginning. How did they actually find this thing?
Okay, so the key fossils were unearthed back in 2016. It was Lee Docking and his crew doing excavation work.
Right. And where exactly were they digging?
They were in the Wenjiashan Formation.
Yeah.
And even more specifically, a layer called the straw yellow sandstone member in the Pingtuan district of Baiyun City.
Wow, that's precise. So they find these bones. What happens next? Cleaning them up, I imagine.
Exactly. The fossils were collected and then taken for preparation by the Gansu Zenden Dinosaur Culture Communication Co., LTD. A bit of a mouthful.
Hey.
And now the main specimen, the holotype, that's the key one they used to define the species, remember? It's cataloged as IVPG D021. It's housed at Gansu Agricultural University.
Okay. And just to recap the name quickly, Baiyinosaurus, Baiyun reptile,
Yeah.
and B. baojiensis for the Baojian Basin.
You got it. And it's worth noting, while some other stegosaur-like bits from the later Cretaceous period were found in Gansu before and kind of tentatively called Stegosaurus maybe, Baiyinosaurus is actually the first officially named stegosaur genus from the whole province. Getting that formal name is a big step, scientifically speaking.
Right. It puts it properly on the map. Okay. Location check. Name check. What did this Baiyun reptile actually look like? What kind of dinosaur are we talking about?
Well, based on the bones they have, which are, parts of a skeleton, it was definitely a quadrupedal herbivore.
So walking on four legs, eating plants. Standard stegosaur stuff so far.
Pretty much, yeah. That fits the bill.
And the iconic plates and spikes. Did they find any of those?
Ah, well, that's the interesting part. We expect it had them, right? These bony bits in the skin, osteoderms. In later stegosaurs, you see plates maybe for display, maybe temperature control, who knows, and spikes, usually for defense.
Right.
But, and this is important, with the main Baiyinosaurus skeleton they found, no osteoderms. No plates, no spikes recovered so far.
Really? Huh. So we're inferring those based on its relative.
Exactly. It's a strong inference. But yeah, none were directly found with this specimen.
Okay, so what bones did they actually find? What parts of it do we have?
They've got a decent chunk of the skull. There's left premaxilla and maxilla parts of the upper jaw, the frontals from the skull roof, what looks like a right jugal, the cheekbone, a squamosal bone from the back of the skull, and the left dentary, which is the main bone of the lower jaw.
Okay, quite a bit of the head then. What about the rest of the body? Any spine?
Yep, vertebrae too, the atlas, that's the very first neck bone connecting to the skull, then 7 dorsal vertebrae from the back, and just 1 caudal vertebra from the tail.
All right, let's dive into some of those skull details. Anything jumped out?
Yeah, a few things. The premaxilla, that front upper jawbone, has this sort of expanded bit at the back under the nostril area. Looks like it connected with the nasal bone. The maxilla, the main upper jawbone, shows the tooth row set slightly inwards, medially.
Okay.
The cheekbone, the probable right jugal, it's described as triradiate, kind of branches in 3 directions, and the top part of it is really expanded upwards. And the squamosal, the bone at the back corner of the skull roof, you can actually see the suture lines where it would have met the parietal and postorbital bones.
Fascinating. And you mentioned the frontals, the skull roof bones.
Yeah.
Anything special there?
Yes. This is actually pretty key. The paired frontals are broad side to side, but short front to back, wider than long. Now, that general shape is seen in some other early armored dinosaurs like Tuojangosaurus, maybe Celodosaurus, Emosaurus. But Baiyinosaurs has a specific distinction. Its frontals contribute quite a bit to the edge of the supratemporal fenestrae, those openings on the top back of the skull.
Wow.
The researchers highlight this as an autapomorphy, a unique derived feature just for Baiyinosaurus. It's one of its defining characteristics.
Got it. A unique skull signature. What about the lower jaw, the dentary?
Right, the left dentary. It curves down and slightly inwards at the very front. The predentary bone, that sort of beak thing at the tip of the lower jaw in herbivores like this, it wasn't found. But you can see the facets, the surfaces where it would have attached.
And teeth. Did they find teeth?
Yes, they did. The first tooth socket starts right behind where that predentary beak would have been. So there isn't a big gap or diastema like you see in some later stegosaurs.
Oh, interesting difference.
Yeah. And the jaw has sockets, alveoli, for 18 teeth in total. Some were still erupting, apparently. They have 2 fully preserved teeth, and they show 2 little points at the tip, apical denticles, and then 7 smaller bumps or denticles along both the front and back edges. Looks like that might have been the pattern for all the lower teeth.
Okay, detailed picture of the mouth there. Let's move down the spine. What about those vertebrae?
Okay, the atlas, the first neck bone, it doesn't have these 2 little ridges on the bottom surface that you see in, say, Stegosaurus.
Another difference.
Yep. And the dorsal vertebrae, the backbones, the neural arches, the bony loops over the spinal cord, they aren't super tall. They're more like what you see in more basal, earlier thyreophorans.
Okay, more primitive in that way.
Sort of, yeah. And in the mid to back dorsal vertebrae, the parapophyses, these are the connection points for the ribs. They're set high up on little stalks. That's something also seen in Baiyinosaurus and Celodosaurus.
Wow, it really does sound like a mix and match of features.
It absolutely is. And the neural spines, the fins sticking up from the vertebrae, on the dorsals, they're quite broad from front to back, broader than many stegosaurs, actually more similar to Gigantspinosaurus or even some non-stegosaur armored dinosaurs. Right. And the hole for the spinal cord, the neural canal, it's oval-shaped in those back vertebrae.
Okay. And the tailbone? Just one, you said?
Just one, yeah. An anterior one from near the base of the tail. It's missing some connecting parts, the zygapophyses and the neural spine. But it does show a clear spot, a facet, where a chevron bone would have attached underneath. Those are the V-shaped bones under the tail, and its neural canal is round.
Right. And any idea how old this individual animal was? Was it a juvenile or an adult?
Looks like it was an adult. The neurocentral sutures in the dorsal vertebrae, those are the seams where different parts of the vertebra fuse together as the animal matures. They're completely closed up, fused solid. You wouldn't see that in a young animal.
Okay, so a fully grown Baiyinosaurus, which makes this combination of features even more significant, right?
Mm-hmm.
This brings us to the evolutionary implications.
This is really the core of it. As the paper points out, Baiyinosaur shows this fascinating blend. It has plesiomorphic thyreophoran traits.
Meaning, like, ancestral features.
Exactly. Features inherited from earlier, more basic armored dinos like Celodosaurus. But it also has derived stegosaurian traits, features that are characteristic of the stegosaur group specifically.
So it's caught between stages, almost, like an evolutionary snapshot.
That's a great way to put it. Think about Baiyinosaurus, that other early Chinese stegosaur from older rocks. It also shows a similar kind of mix. Discoveries like these, Baiyinosaurus and Baiyinosaurs, they're really helping us trace the steps. How did we get from those early, simpler armored forms towards the more specialized stegosaurs and eventually, the ankylosaurs too?
It fills in a gap. So where does a scientist place it on the family tree now?
The phylogenetic analysis they ran, basically building a family tree based on shared features places Baiyinosaurus as a very early stegosaur.
Okay.
It seems to form a little group, a clade, with Isobarysaura, which is from Argentina and slightly older, and Gigantspinosaurus, another Chinese one that's a bit younger. It branches off the main stegosaur line before you get to the more famous later ones like Tuojangosaurus, Kentrosaurus, or the classic Stegosaurus.
So it's helping define those early branches. That's really cool. It's like finding a missing piece of the puzzle.
Exactly.
Now, what about its world? The paleoecology. What else was living there back in the Middle Jurassic?
Right, so the Wangjiashan Formation, where they found it, is dated to the late Bathonian stage of the Middle Jurassic. And it wasn't alone. From the same general area, fossils suggest there were probably mammensaurid sauropods.
The really long necks ones.
Yep, those giants. And also large theropods, meat eaters. They've even found some big theropod teeth there. So Baiyinosaurus definitely had some large neighbors, both plant eaters and predators.
Makes sense. Any other clues about the environment?
Yeah, actually, they've found fossil trackways footprints in the same formation. Theropod footprints assigned to the ichnogenus Gurlator, specifically Gurlator pinquenensis.
So confirmation of active predators walking around.
Definitely. And they've also found some fossilized plant remains in those rock layers. So you start to get this picture, a Middle Jurassic landscape in China. You've got Baiyinosaurus munching plants, huge sauropods nearby, large carnivores possibly stalking them, smaller theropods leaving tracks, and various types of prehistoric vegetation.
A whole ecosystem coming into view.
Yeah.
And Banosaurus, with its unique mix of old and new features, is a really key player in understanding how armored dinosaurs were diversifying back then.
Absolutely. It's a fantastic discovery. And, finding these transitional fossils like Baiyinosaurus, it really gets you thinking, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like, what can these in-between creatures really tell us about the bigger picture of evolution? How do these sometimes subtle anatomical shifts add up over millions of years to create completely new types of animals? It's just a powerful reminder that life's history is this incredibly complex story written in rock, and we're still finding amazing new chapters.